This full moon in Scorpio is not like all the rest. It arrives with intensity, yes, but also with a distinct cosmic configuration that marks a turning point, a breaking point, if you will. And that would be that this full moon is a focal point of a boomerang yod in the sky at the exact moment of its fullness. So, what does this mean? A yod is a finger of God. It's pointing at truth. It is at the heart of this lunation. It is rare and psychologically complex. Technically, a yod occurs when two planets are in sextile and form a quincunx or a 150-degree aspect. It's pointing to a third planet, creating tension, growth, and unexpected revelations. And in this case, we have Jupiter in Gemini, sextile with Chiron in Aries. Both are pointing directly to the moon in Scorpio. Though Chiron is not a traditional planet, its deep psychological resonance makes this significant for this configuration. Chiron in Aries has been highlighting wounds around autonomy, around sovereignty, around going your own direction, being your own person, and especially those that stem from feeling guilt or shame or emotionally vulnerable. In its masculine expression, this can look like lashing out or resisting help, and especially when tenderness is needed the most. And with Jupiter in Gemini, this brings the mind into the mix. So beliefs, ideas, the search for truth, the truth itself. And it zooms out to see the big picture, while Gemini dives into the details. And then together, this sextile is constructive. It wants to work through pain to build meaning from the mess. And both are now focusing that energy toward the Scorpio moon, excavating the deep emotional depths that we often keep hidden and sometimes even hidden from ourselves. And not just that, this moon is also at the apogee and it is at its farthest point from the earth. We have several lunations back to back, full moons back to back over a 3-month period that are at this point. So we had one in Libra, we're having one in Scorpio, we will be having one in Sagittarius. And what this means is that this is a mini moon. And a full moon near the apogee, meaning the moon at its farthest from the Earth in its orbit, these lunations can feel emotionally distant or more psychologically charged. The moon in Scorpio is already in its fall. This is not a comfortable place for the moon to be feeling all the feels. And this particular point heightens this intensity. On the other end of this, we have the sun conjunct Uranus in Taurus, and it sits directly opposite the moon, forming the classic full moon, right? The polarity here. And here, our conscious self, our vitality, and even our identities are being shaken up by these Uranian forces. This will be the final time that the sun comes conjunct Uranus in the sign of Taurus. So this will be the final time that the ground beneath our feet shifts and kind of goes topsy-turvy. So this can be instability, disruption, shocking truths, and structures and values that we thought were stable may suddenly be up for revision and re-evaluation for a final time, because Taurus clings to what is safe. Scorpio demands truth, even when it hurts. It also demands loyalty. And this lunation asks, can we continue living the life that we're living as it is for the coming years or for however many years to come? And that's the question. Now, Boomerang Yod, let's bring it all together. So the Yod, the opposition and the release point, forming what's called a Boomerang Yod. And this can be configuration creates extreme psychological pressure. Obviously, I can barely talk, right? Especially leading up to the full moon. And it can feel like cognitive dissonance overload, emotionally draining, mentally disorienting, and energetically completely overwhelming to our systems. We may find ourselves acting irrationally or emotionally flooded, especially since the moon in Scorpio touches on the rawest parts of ourselves. This sign, Scorpio, is ruled by Mars, and Mars right now is in Leo, forming a wide square to this particular lunation. And so there's fire under our feet. This is about sovereignty, personal agency, and reclaiming our voice, but not without conflict or intensity. And despite all of this, there is a thread, a shred, right, of grounded support, because Saturn is in Pisces, forming a trine to this full moon, and it does help anchor us into emotional maturity. Even if we feel lost or unsure how we got to where we got, Saturn offers the clarity of time and reflection, and it says, you can feel it all, but don't get lost in it. Keep your feet on the ground. And with Venus, is in Aries, even though it's in its detriment, it is in trine with Mars at the time of this lunation. So the lunation itself, while it is intense and very emotionally churning up all of the depths of what's in our unconscious, there's potential here for assertive connection, or for love that fights to stay alive or departs with dignity, or maybe a little intensity. But there's no real going back after this, right? So this full moon marks a shift that cannot be undone. The illusions, the outdated emotional patterns, the mass truths, they're all surfacing. And once seen, they can't be unseen. Why would you want to unsee it? And so this kind of lunation, this calls us to look inward, and look inward with honesty, and even radical honesty, and what's been festering under the surface. What truths have we been afraid to speak, and what part of us and our current life is quietly asking or even begging to be released, so something that is more aligned can take its place for the long term. Remember, this is happening in the fixed signs. And so we're at the edge of something new. And while it may feel like the ground is shaking beneath us, this is not a collapse, it's a revelation. And so with revelations comes that uncomfortable feeling. And it's always the beginning of the transformation, which is ultimately what this full moon is asking us to do, is to transform. Let's get into all 12 signs. And so as it relates to Aries and Aries rising for this lunation, this full moon is happening in your 8th house. And so what this can be highlighting and bringing to you is deep, uncomfortable psychological truths that you maybe have not wanted to look at or have not dared to look at. And because Mars rules both you and your 8th house, there could be some uncomfortable things here that you are evaluating or reevaluating for release, for letting go of power and control, letting go of certain vices. And this lunation is in that wide square with Mars. And what this can mean is that there can be power struggles or things going on with lovers or romantic partners, short-term relationships, like I said, lovers. But it can also relate, if you have children, this can be something going on in the life of one of your children as well. Now, as it relates to like the trines and the supportive energy that's going on, Venus is in your sign. It is helping to soften and kind of make and smooth things over. It is still in its shadow at the time of this full moon, but it's moving on. It's getting ready to move on. And it is in trine with Mars in your 5th house. So this could be really great for creative projects that you want to work on, but the pivot or the intensity that's going to be here is going to be based on money, and your money versus other people's money. This can even too be karmic debts that need to be paid back or that have to be paid back at this point in time, whether or not this is actual physical money as it relates to inheritance or insurance or even taxes. We are in tax season, or we were, maybe we're not anymore. I don't know. But as it relates to also insurances, right? This could definitely be something that's coming up for review, and it's coming up very intensely, and it's coming up to kind of be put to bed for this final time. This is the last time that the sun will come conjunct Uranus in your second house for the next 80 years. So this is the final time that you're going to be seeing a shakeup as it relates to your finances, as it relates to, you know, this wild swing in what's coming in, what's going out, and all of that. So this is kind of like the final hurrah, and what needs to be changed from here on out, moving forward, to have the stability and to have the finances and the security that you need, want, and desire for the long haul over time. So that is for Aries. For Taurus and for Taurus rising, this full moon is happening in your seventh house, your relationships, your contracts, your agreements, your negotiations with other people, like where you meet other people. This could be something is going on in the life of your spouse. This could be a business partner, if this is applicable to you. This could even be clients, if you are a person that works with clients. So there is definitely a lot of intensity, a lot of things that are being unearthed and brought up to the surface as it relates to your partnerships, as it relates to the other people in your life. Now, Mars is in square with this full moon widely. So there could definitely have been some arguments or some disputes with a partner on a home front, or even action to be taken about something going on in the home behind the scenes. You know, the home itself, or even something going on with your parents or something like that could also be affected here. Now, this will be the final time that the sun and Uranus come conjunct in your first house, because Uranus is going to be moving on here. So all the weirdness, the craziness, the acting out of the norm that you have been doing over the last 7 to 8 years, that's coming to a close. That's coming to an end. All of the strange, maybe odd situations that you find yourself in will be coming to an end and coming to a close. Now, the other things that are going on here, and especially as it relates to, you know, Jupiter being in your second house and being involved with this lunation, there could definitely be some things going on behind the scenes as it relates to your money, your materials, and your possessions, or something going on with a partner or with even like a bank or something like that. If you are signing documents, be very careful around this time. Make sure you're crossing all your I's, you're dotting all your T's, and make sure that things are on the up and up, and there's nothing kind of weird or nefarious that's going on there. This could also even be like hidden finances and something like that, or maybe a spouse is hiding something from you and you find out, or you're hiding something from a spouse and they find out, right? It can work both ways in astrology. But the other support that's coming in for this lunation specifically is like groups of people and friends. Like maybe you felt limited over the last several years with this, but there is support here in terms of your relationships and your one-to-one connections, and even new contracts too, or old contracts that are coming up for evaluation. And there is grounded support from people in your social networks, from, you know, whether or not this is people that are on social media with you, or your group, your fan base, or something like that could also be a thing here too. So that is what I see for you. And it's not, I mean, this isn't the worst thing in the world for your particular sign. It's just with this Boomerang Yod, it it's affecting you specifically because of the sun and Uranus being in your first house and the full moon itself being in your seventh. So there's already something that's been brewing for a while now that is finally being put to bed or put away for good. For Gemini and for Gemini rising, this full moon is happening in your sixth house. And so this is your work, your daily life, what you're doing every single day. This can also be your health, your vitality. This can be your mental health too. And any prickly feelings that are coming up for you, any intensity that's coming up for you in your daily life, it's being highlighted at this time, right? So there could be, with the sun transiting through your 12th house with Uranus, your sleep could have been thrown off. Your health, definitely with this full moon, could be thrown out of balance. But as it relates to what's going on here with this full moon, it is in trine with Saturn, which is your 10th house. And so there could be really good rapport as it relates to your work and your bosses or people in positions of power and authority over you, or as it relates to what you're working towards that career and that public reputation that you have or that you're trying to cultivate in a very grounded, very practical way. This can support that. Now, this is the final time that the sun will be coming conjunct after this full moon with Uranus in your 12th house, because Uranus is going to be moving on out of your 12th house. The weird sleep patterns that you've been facing over the last 7 years, the wild dreams, the crazy things that are happening behind the scenes that nobody's talking about, that you're noticing or happening around you or even to you, are going to be moving on, and it's going to be moving into your first house. So you are going to be acting out of the norm for the next 7 years after this. But this final conjunction is really highlighting the changes and the shakeups, and especially at the time of this full moon, of what needs to change, what needs to be put to bed, maybe even what old grudges you've had that need to be let go of, because it's time to move on and live a different life accordingly. Now, the wide square that's going on with Mars, this is one of communication, of who you're communicating with on a daily basis. Maybe that needs to change as well. But it's one of those things where the support is there with your career, with your public reputation, and what's going on out in the world for you. But with, and with Jupiter here, if you have your ascendant, there could definitely, I would say, definitely make sure you're taking care of your health, your wellness, and your well-being. And that includes your mental health, mental wellness, and mental well-being as well, because the sixth house is also what we think about and ruminate on every single day, and especially with that third house Mars connection that's going on here for you. So just be aware that it's not the worst thing in the world that's going on for you, particularly, but it's definitely something to keep an eye on, and it's definitely something to kind of work with and work through for a final time here. And for Cancer and for Cancer rising, this full moon is happening in your fifth house of fun, of romance, of sex, of love affairs and hobbies and children. Like, the fifth house has a lot of different dynamic things that go on with it. So this full moon could be illuminating what's going on as it relates to, maybe if you have children, this could be something that's going on in the life of your children. If you are dating someone, this could be something that comes to light with that person. Or this could even be like the fulfillment or the end of the road as it relates to a hobby or something else like that going on for you, and you're moving on from it. It's something that has been coming up over and over again, right, with these lunations, and especially these full moons with Uranus with the sun, right, over the last 7 years. But this is the final time that the sun and Uranus are going to come together. because Uranus is going to move on and move into your 12th house, I would suggest that you talk to any Gemini risings that you know and see how their Uranus 12th house transits have gone, because that will give you some clue as to certain things that are going to go on for you. But as it relates to here, you know, there could definitely be some final changes that are going on too, between the push and pull of what you're passionate about and the people that you connect with. Because the 11th house are the social networks and the people that we choose to associate with and choose to be around, right? Whether or not that's in physical proximity or over the interwebs and airwaves. So it's definitely one of those things where this is the final time that you're going to be making changes, and then things are going to smooth out and move on from here, particularly. Now, the wide square to Mars in your second house, this could definitely have to do with money and finances. And maybe there's something that's coming up for you specifically between these, you know, two other areas around like what's fun, what's playful, who you want to party with, who you want to be with, or how you want to associate with people, and your money. So maybe the money's not quite there. And especially with Mars here, if you are day born, this is definitely one of those things where it's a little bit tougher having Mars transit your second house. But this full moon is also in trine with Saturn in your ninth. So there's definitely support at a distance. This could even, for some of you, be a long distance move, and you're coming to the close and to the end of it, and you're moving on for the final time, right? Or you're finding your forever home and you're moving there, or something like that can be going on too for you. Okay. And then for Leo and for Leo rising, this full moon is happening in your fourth house. This is the house of home, of family, of your parents specifically. Like something could be going on in the lives of your parents that's being highlighted at this time, something to do with maybe even your home or the property that you live on is being highlighted. There could be some very uncomfortable things that are being unearthed. And with Mars here in a wide square with this, transiting your first house, you could be the one taking action on uncovering this or unearthing this, or you could be the one that is agitating what's going on here. And it might not be what you think it is, or it could very well be what you think it is, just because Mars also rules the ninth house in your chart and it's transiting here. So this could be conversations with someone at a distance, especially with that trine to Venus in the mix here, of conversations at a distance with either, you know, a boss or, you know, a friend of some kind, or someone at a distance that you're communicating with, could definitely help you unearth what's going on there in that fourth house. This will be the final time that the sun comes conjunct Uranus in your 10th house. So the wild changes and things that have gone on with your career, whether or not you have shifted from being single to being married to being divorced to being, you know, having a child or something like that, right? Like whatever title changes have gone on over the last 7 years for you, this is the final time that the sun will come in the sun will come conjunct here, and it's the final time that any real big shakeups or changes will be made, because you're putting this to bed and utilizing this for long lasting results, right? So there is that is going on. Now, this moon being in trine with Saturn in the eighth house could mean that there is either someone else's finances come into play with this, or there's something to do with insurances. Like some of you could have insurance claims that are going on with this. I do know some Leo risings that do have insurance claims currently. So this could definitely be something that is going on. It will take a little bit longer because Saturn is here involved, even though it is in trine, but it's still one of those things where insurance or even a spouse's money situation, this will be the final time that things are, you're helping to reevaluate what's going on here in terms of like the finances that are going on with a partner, or you're witnessing what's going on with it and you're able to make changes for yourself as well. So that is what is going on for Leo. And then for Virgo and for Virgo rising, this full moon is happening in your third house. So definitely make sure that all of your vehicle situation is situated and it's good to go and you're not having to worry about it. This could be highlighting something too going on in the life of a sibling, of a cousin. This could be neighbors, even. There could be something going on with neighbors that's coming up for like final evaluation, final putting it to bed, and it's done with, it's over with, whatever, Scorpio energy, whatever toxicity was there could be put to bed for a final time, and you're moving on from that. This will be the last time that Uranus and the sun do come conjunct in Taurus. And what happens here is that the mindset, how you view reality, how your soapbox moments and what you believe to be right, true, and just about the universe, the world, the people around you, and your own morals and ethics is subject to one final change, and then it's being done and it's put to bed. Now, the trine with this moon is coming in, the support that's coming in is from a partner or from someone that has either been a long-time partner or someone that maybe is older than you that is also here, right? Because this trine with Saturn in the 7th house and the moon in the 3rd, this could be conversations as it relates to partnership and partners, or this could even be conversations as it relates to how you're moving forward with a partner, or conversations that you're having in general with either business partner, spouse, or clients, if that's applicable to you. Now, the wide square that's happening is the square that's happening with Mars in your 12th house. So be aware that there could be, like, especially if you've been having property issues, I know some Virgo risings that have, be aware that you might not be seeing the neighbor clearly, or you might not be seeing the situation as clearly as you would like. And especially with this Boomerang Yod, it's something that's very jarring and very, you're not liking it. You're not having to deal with what's going on here, but this will be something that needs to be evaluated, put to bed, moved on from, etc. So that is what I have for you there. And then for Libra and Libra rising, this full moon is happening in your 2nd house. So you are one of two signs that this is happening in your financial houses, right? So for you, this is highlighting your income, your finances, the money that you make, maybe even the money that you make from the career that you have out in the world. This could also too be what's being highlighted. Maybe there is a lack of money that's happening. This full moon is in a wide square with Mars. And so I would say that there could definitely be issues with friends or people that you associate with by choice, things like that. Maybe you've been thrown for a loop with certain things that are going on there, or even your partner. There could be something going on with your partner as it relates to your resources and their resources. The sun here will come conjunct Uranus after this full moon for the final time in Taurus, for the next 80 years. So whatever shakeups, whatever power and control issues have been happening for you, whatever has been going on here in this 8th house in terms of insurance and finances and debt and inheritance and all of that, credit cards, loans, all of that. This is the final shakeup that's going to be happening. And then you're going to be able to move on from it. That's what's going on here. Now, the trine with the moon and Saturn, this is happening between your 2nd house and your 6th house. And so what this can mean is that there is support, there is help. Throwing yourself into work, be careful of being a workaholic, but throwing yourself into work to be able to make the money that you want to make in order to put to bed whatever is going on here with your partner's resources, or with whatever power struggles are going on either with a partner or with an institution of some kind. So that is definitely something that's going on too. And then for Scorpio and for Scorpio rising, this full moon is highlighting you. You're going to be feeling, especially if you're a late degree Scorpio rising, you're going to be feeling really emotional. You're going to be feeling really intense. This is highlighting you, right? The sun has been transiting your partnerships. Now the moon is highlighting you. And so you could definitely be feeling a little bit more emotional, a little bit more intense in terms of those emotions and all of that. Now, the wide square comes with Mars, and so Mars is your chart ruler if you're a Scorpio rising, and Mars is transiting your 10th house. There could be something that's going on in terms of your career, your public reputation, how you're known out in the world, that's going through some type of change. Maybe you're having to trim the fat, as they say. You're having to work with your persona a little bit and maybe even rework it a little bit, or rework what it is that you're doing. And maybe instead of being single, you're getting married. Instead of being married, you're getting divorced, right? Like these are changes here that are happening in your 10th house in terms of your reputation, how it is that you're known and who you're known as, your title. Now, the trine comes from Saturn to the moon in your first house. So highly creative energy as it relates to, romance, sex, love affairs, boyfriend, girlfriend kind of energy as it relates to children, or even hobbies. Maybe with this transit of Saturn moving through Pisces, you've been really honing in on and tamping down something that was a hobby, something that you enjoyed doing, and turning it into something real and long lasting. And that's where you could find some support and find some good things to safely release some of these emotions and work through whatever it is that you have going on for yourself. So that is definitely something there. The other thing that's going on too is that Venus is here in your 6th house. And so you could definitely, like your partner, you could be spending a lot more time with your partner, right? Because Venus does rule your relationships. And it is one of those things where in trine with Mars, this is a really nice energy for working with a spouse or working with a partner of some kind to kind of bolster your public reputation and what you're doing out in the world. Now, the sun and Uranus are coming together after this full moon for the final time in Taurus. This will be the last time for 80 years. And the shakeups and the weirdness that has been going on in terms of your contracts, in terms of your partnerships, in terms of wherever you sign on the dotted line, those are coming up with this full moon for a final review, for a final time. It's about letting go of what doesn't serve you for the stability that you seek in partnership moving forward for, right, the long haul, because this is a fixed sign. So that is what I have for Scorpio. For Sagittarius and for Sagittarius rising, this full moon is happening in your 12th house. It's highlighting your dreams. It's highlighting what's going on behind the scenes. And 2, because this is one of the mental houses, this is highlighting like where it is that you could be sabotaging yourself mentally. And it could even be highlighting where it is that there's toxicity that you're working through, that you're trying to get like excised like a demon, right? Now, with Mars being in a wide T-square with this full moon, this is Mars is transiting your 9th house. So changing what it is that you believe to be right, true, and just, being on that soapbox, being really passionate about what it is that you believe is super important, but it can also kind of throw that wrench into the monkey works, right? Now, the support from this full moon comes from Saturn at the end degrees of Pisces in the 4th house. So this support could come from home, from a parent, from a place of living or something like that. Or even if you do ancestral work, this could really help to support you in whatever it is that you have going on. Because right now, the sun is also transiting your 6th house. It's highlighting your routines, your daily life. it is coming into that final conjunction with Uranus, and Uranus will be moving on after this. This is the final conjunction that will be happening in your sixth house. Uranus has been wreaking havoc on your daily life for the last 7 years, and it's going to be moving on. It is moving out. It is now going to throw monkey and spanner works into your relationships. So you could be connecting with different people after this. But for right now, because it is in Taurus and this is happening at the end degrees of Taurus, there is something to do with your routine, your daily life, your, who you're spending your time with and what you're doing and who you're talking to, and maybe even how you're talking to them is coming up for a review, to move on and to be put to bed for a final time, to be able to have the stability and even the safety that you need in your daily life and daily routines. So that's what's coming. That's what I see for Sagittarius rising. For Capricorn and Capricorn rising, this full moon is happening in your 11th house of your friends, your networks, the people that you associate with by choice. And this is highlighting, this full moon could be highlighting who's toxic, who's not, who you're going to keep, who you're going to let go. Now, it's not the worst full moon in the world for you, but what's also going on is that there is this final time that Uranus and the sun are coming conjunct in your 5th house. So if you've been having, this can mean is that whatever shakeups, whatever kind of wild and crazy things have been going on, either with romantic relationships, lovers, children, hobbies, things like that, whatever kind of shakeups have been going on here, this is the final time. And with this full moon, it's highlighting the changes that need to be made to have the stability and the groundedness and the sensual enjoyment, right? The senses, the 5 senses, touch, taste, sound, sight, smell, right? 5 senses. Anyway, for the grounded changes that you want to enjoy, right? So the 5th house is enjoyment. It's a place of enjoyment because it is in trine with the 1st. And so it's highlighting the changes that need to be made, maybe even the final changes that need to be made in the friend group that need to happen, or, the final changes that need to be made in general for your long-term goals and plans to have that grounded stability that you need moving forward. Now, the trine is coming from Saturn in your 3rd house. And what this could mean is that you're having conversations with people that are in your group or group associations, and you're able to talk it out and communicate with authority and gravity. And you're able to kind of put it to bed, right? Now, the wide square that's happening with Mars, this is happening in your 8th house. And so this could definitely be as it relates to insurance claims or money or debt or finance of some kind that needs to be evaluated at this full moon as well. So that is what I have for Capricorn. For Aquarius and for Aquarius rising, this full moon is happening in your 10th house. This is a very public house. So whatever is going on here in terms of your public reputation, who you are out in the world, your title, as in like whether or not you're married, you're single, you're divorced, you're getting married, any of these things, you're becoming a parent. These are what's going on for you in terms of what's coming up, what's being put to bed, what's being finalized, and what's being walked away from. Now, the sun in the 4th house with Uranus, what's happening here is that the final shakeups that are on the home front or that are happening in the home, this is the final time that there's going to be really truly like giant shakeups, because Uranus will be moving out of your 4th house, and this final conjunction and full moon could be highlighting what needs to change in order for you to have the stability and the enjoyment that you want from the home that you live in currently. Now, the trine that's happening is happening in your second house to your 10th house between the moon and Saturn. And so whatever's going on in the public eye, whatever is going on out in, right, that 10th house, there could be finances that are involved, whether or not this is finances that are coming in or finances that are being gained from whatever's going on publicly for you, whether or not this has to do with your reputation or with what's going on in general. Now, the T-square that's happening, it is a wide T-square, but the T-square is happening with your partners and your partnerships and the people that you relate to one-on-one, whether or not this is contractual. So spouse, business partner, clients, long-term, friends are here too. Contracts in general, like where you sign on the dotted line, because the fourth house is involved. This could be a contract for a home or a place of living or a property of some kind. This could also be something that's going on in terms of like your parents' life and whatnot, and it's affecting you and what's going on there. That could also be a thing too. So that is what I have for Aquarius. For Pisces and for Pisces rising, this full moon is happening in your 9th house of your beliefs, of what it is that you believe in and what you believe to be right, true, just, your morals, your values, like your morality, right? And your ethics, those soapbox kind of moments where everybody gets on their high horse and they're like, let's talk about this. So that's being highlighted at this time. And so there is a wide T-square with Mars in your 6th house. Mars does rule Scorpio. And having Mars here in your 6th house, this could be something that's going on in terms of conversations that come out of the blue, either for final putting to bed and you're done with the strangeness of the conversations. This could be arguments or disputes to do with work. This could be a colleague or a coworker, especially if you are a Pisces rising. And this could even be like the end of a situation that is very uncomfortable or very toxic. Now, this is the final time that the Sun and Uranus are going to come conjunct in Taurus for the next 80 years. So after this conjunction, especially at the time of this full moon, because of how close they are, this could definitely see putting to bed those strange conversations or something going on with a vehicle. If there's something that's been going on with a vehicle for the last 7 years, something that's been going on with a sibling or a cousin for the last 7 years, there could be, conversations that are now just being done because you need stability in what it is. First of all, you need stability in your vehicle. Second of all, you need stability in the conversations that you're having. You need them to feel good, right? Now, what's going on here is that Saturn is also in the mix, and Saturn is in trine with this moon, and Saturn is in your 1st house. So even though you could have been feeling very limited, it's also a very liberating experience to know that you can take on authority as an adult, right? So with Saturn here at the end degrees of Pisces, you're kind of finishing out this as well. And you're understanding what it is to be an authority in your own life and to kind of take charge of that. Now, with this trine to the moon, there is support, right? This could be support either from an institution, a teaching institution, a learning institution, even like a psychological institution could be something here. But it's also like how it is that you're seeing the world is changed fundamentally because you've gone through these changes as well. So that is what I see for you. And so thank you so much. I appreciate this, and I hope you all have a wonderful rest of your month. I will see you at the new moon.